NASCAR, the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, was founded by Bill France Sr. in 1948. As the sport has grown over the past 72 years, it is now one of the fastest growing sports in the world. Every year, NASCAR sanctions over 1,500 races at over 100 tracks in 48 US states, as well as in Canada, Mexico and Europe. As you can imagine, the NASCAR phenomenon has raced at many different tracks over the years. But not all of these venues have stood the test of time. In fact, there are many different tracks which have long since been abandoned and lost into the sands of time. One of these tracks is the North Wilkesboro Speedway. This old short track was on the NASCAR scene from the beginning. It hosted the 8th and final race of the inaugural 1949 season. This circuit lived on until 1996. After its purchase, its races passed to the New Hampshire and Texas Motor Speedway. New ownership brought the track back to life in 2010 for a few regional races, but this was not enough to keep this famous track alive. The final victor at this circuit was Jeff Gordon in 1996. Richard Petty had the most wins at this venue with 15 victories. Nowadays, if you want to see a NASCAR race in Texas, you will have to watch it at the Texas Motor Speedway. But there was another circuit in Texas long before the Texas Motor Speedway. The Texas World Speedway in College Station opened for business in 1969. A 2-mile superspeedway, this track was seen as a sister to the Michigan International Speedway, which had a similar layout and size. Texas World had steeper banking than its counterpart, and speeds of both stock cars and open-wheel cars increased because of this. Bobby Isaac won the first NASCAR race here in 1969, and Richard Petty took the checkered flag here 3 times. After the track fell into disrepair in 1980, NASCAR was forced to stop sanctioning races here. After Hurricane Harvey, the track was used to dump vehicles and is soon expected to be developed into houses. Riverside International Raceway in California was one of the world's most famous road courses and for years was the main focal point for the NASCAR world. For many years, the season would begin at Riverside in January and end in November as the final race. Eddie Gray won the first sanctioned race here in 1958 and has had a star-studded list of victors over its time, including Dan Gurney, Richard Petty, Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace, to name but a few. In all, this venue hosted 37 NASCAR Sprint Cup races, Rusty Wallace being the final winner back in 1988. After being abandoned for many years, this track, which took the lives of 19 drivers, is now partially covered by a shopping mall. Billed as the Indianapolis of the West, the Ontario Motor Speedway was a short-lived replica of the famous 2.5-mile Brickyard. It made its debut with NASCAR in 1971 with a victory for A.J. Foyt in a 1969 Mercury. Other winners of this venue consist of Bobby Allison, Buddy Baker and David Pearson. When attendances fell, the venue closed its doors in 1980. Today there is a Hilton Hotel and commercial developments covering most of the ground where the track once stood. In the list of unique tracks, Nazareth Speedway ranks as one of the best. This 5-turn track, located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, began life as a dirt track in 1910 before being transformed into a surface track in 1987. Providing a big part of this track's history, hosting Busch, what is now Xfinity Series, and Truck Series races for many years. The first Busch Series race was won by Rick Mast in 1988 and Martin Truex Jr. taking the final in 2004. Greg Biffle won the last truck race in 2001 and the track ceased operation in 2004. It was bought for commercial development in 2015. As far as legendary half-mile tracks go, The I70 Speedway will rank highly on the scale. Located in Odessa, Missouri, late model stock car racing led the way, with some top performers competing here over the years, including Dick Trickle, Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin. The Truck Series was also held here 5 times. By 2009, the track had fell on hard times and closed down. The track may have found some good luck, as a smaller track is supposed to be opened sometime in 2020. There are many other tracks that have been abandoned but not forgotten. Here are just some of them. Louisville Motor Speedway in Kentucky opened in 1988. It was finished when Kentucky Speedway was built, and it shut in the year 2000. It has since been demolished and is now an industrial park. The Okatie Speedway in North Carolina was once a horse racing track. It began NASCAR races in 1949. It closed its doors in 1969. It is now covered in vegetation and is completely overgrown. Columbia Speedway in South Carolina was open for NASCAR from 1951 to 1971 and lay abandoned for a long time, and is now used to hold public events and festivals. The Jackson International Speedway opened in 1968. This fast half-mile track lived on until 1973. There have been many complaints about its poor condition. It has now been taken by nature and is crumbling and covered in dense woods. The Piedmont Interstate Fairgrounds circuit in South Carolina was once a horse racing track. It hosted car races in the 1950s and 60s, but by 1969 NASCAR had pulled out, and despite hosting some small-time races, Mother Nature sadly is slowly reclaiming the track. The Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina opened in 1965 as a 1-mile oval. It was put up for auction in 2007 and revived, but NASCAR pulled out in 2018, but one day they are hoping to reopen. Middle Georgia Speedway in Georgia opened in 1966, but despite holding races involving legends like Richard Petty, the last race happened in 1971 and was closed and abandoned by 1986. Chicago Motor Speedway, Chicago, was a 67,000-seater track opened in 1999, hosting both NASCAR and horse racing, but by 2001 it had serious money problems. The grandstands were torn down, and today nothing exists of the track, and on its grounds lay a Walmart, a public park and a beverage distribution centre. Flemington Speedway in New Jersey opened in 1910 and was known for its speed. It was paved in 1990, which made it even faster and deadlier. The track lost popularity and closed in 2002 and was demolished in 2005. Through NASCAR's storied history, it has raced at many different tracks. I have listed but a few of the ones that have been lost to time, never to hear the sound of a roaring engine or cheers of a crowd again. They may be gone, but they will never be forgotten. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more great videos. Thanks very much for watching.